Welcome to this week's seminar. Today, we are honored to have Dr. Teresa Capel visiting us from Spain. Dr. Capel is a principal investigator and professor within the Agricultural Biotechnology Group at the Universidad de Lleida and has led 5 national projects since 2004. She has been an integral part in the development of multivitamin corn, which constitutes the most complex transgenic crop reported to date, in which 3 distinct vitamin pathways were engineered simultaneously in the same plant. She has also developed her own research line on molecular farming for the production of recombinant pharmaceuticals in plants. She has also been instrumental in the success of Project Pandemies, a group focusing on the dissemination, communication, and scientific aspects of SARS-CoV-2. She was awarded the Creu de Sant Jordi in 2020 for her contributions to science and society. Notably, she's been an artist at heart since her youth, and her passion has continued to grow over the years. Today, she's thrilled to share how she combines her artistic nature with science to communicate to the world. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Capel.
How do I fix this? Wait, I put this here. And then I put this here. Yeah, good afternoon, yeah? Okay, good afternoon. It's a great pleasure for me to be here, and it's a great pleasure to be invited by the Horticultural Innovators Seminar Series. Fine. And Jasmine, many thanks for giving this great introduction. Yes, I was given by the Catalan government the Creu de Sant Jordi. You will never guess why. Because I talk open about transgenics. Imagine, I dare in Europe to use the word transgenic in public, what is something that not many people dare to do, but it just happens that I've been working with transgenics for 30 years. And I never had a problem because it's the research we do. And I do the research because I think it can be very useful for the community, for the people that works in the land, the farmers, to use this technology. It just happens that in Europe, it's forbidden to plant transgenics and only plant the old corn, the BT corn from Monsanto. Nothing else has been allowed. Then what is a miracle is that for 10 years between Germany and England and 20 years in Spain, we've been allowed to work and to do research with transgenics. Then Jasmine explained my CV, and yes, I'm really lucky. We got plenty of funding, we got plenty of publications, but as I always say, life is never perfect. Nothing that we produce in our lab has been converted into a product. Nothing at all, just because the European politicians decided that Europe does not need to grow transgenic, to grow them. But we are allowed to import any transgenic event that you are growing in North America, in Brazil, Argentina, it doesn't matter where. We import everything, but our farmers are forbidden to plant them. I am born in a village of 2,000 people. We are farmers. My grandparents were farmers. We would only grow crops that they were rain-fed, olives, almonds, and grapes. My parents were lucky because the grandparents set up a program to bring water from the Pyrenees. Now we have a great canalization system, what allowed us to change to grow trees. We have a great production of apple, pears, peaches, anything we imagine. We are really good at producing things in our area. But this is my frustration. We are farmers, my family are farmers. I studied to improve our farming situation because as farmers, we also want to have a weekend off. I mean, we want to buy new clothes. We don't want to be forced to be just sustainable farmers. We want to be competitive farmers. Then, because of this situation, and that everybody criticized that European farmers, European scientists, we do not communicate. I've been trying to find a way to communicate our science because it looks like this is what we did wrong, this European scientists. We did not communicate our science properly. Then I've been thinking and thinking and thinking, and several things happened in my life that took me to this point. One was we don't have TV at home. We only watch DVDs, and I like a lot James Bond. Then I see the James Bond several times in the same film because I can go asleep watching them. But this specific one, Skyfall, had this image that really shocked me. It's the moment when Daniel Craig, that is James Bond, is asking for the new technology he is going to take with him. And Q is telling him, you will take just something classic, a pistol and transmitter. But this is not the point. The point is where they are sitting having the conversation. They are sitting having the conversation at the National Gallery in London. And it just happens that they are in front of a great painting. And here is where I got part of my information, was this moment, that inspired me to do something else. This is a painting from the 18th century. We should realize that 200, 300, 400 years ago, we couldn't take pictures. They were not mobiles. We did not have TVs. But we still had to communicate science. We had to explain to everybody what we were doing at that time. And in England at that moment, it was in addition the Industrial Revolution. Then how do you explain to people that you are getting new machines, new engines, that you can do science? The Royal Society had a program that would force their scientists to make a new experiment every weekend to show to the people. Now imagine all of us that we are busy enough if in addition, of course we have to do communication and we need to prepare an experiment for every Friday afternoon to entertain our society. This is what they were doing. But the thing is, because they did not have mobiles or cameras, nobody could take a picture of while they were doing their experiment to the people. Here is when the painters came in. They could paint the moment, hang it in a wall, and then people could see the experiment in the fair, not on the spot. Then this gave me the idea, and I thought, perhaps what I should do is to paint our experiments. And after I'm going to show you a few examples of me painting our experiments. In this painting, what I would like that you would see is, this is the scientist, Sunday afternoon, being hired by this wealthy family to do the experiment. What this scientist is explaining the family is explaining to them that just a new machine called a pump has been invented, a pump that can remove the oxygen and leave a container without oxygen. Then this new machine has been invented, but how can I demonstrate to the family that I'm going to remove the oxygen? By getting this poor bird, you don't see it very well in here, but this is a pigeon inside a glass container. Then with the pump, the scientist will remove the oxygen and the poor bear will go unconscious. In addition, we can see the family, a typical class for the ones that we are teaching. The couple that is in love, it's okay, the experiment. The young girl is affected, would the bear die? The father telling the other daughter, look at it, try to learn something. And here we have another brother trying to make some light, like this, we can see it better. I think this painting tells us a lot. Of course, at the moment that the pump is stopped and the oxygen is released, the bear will become alive, will be a great experiment, and I guess everybody will clap the scientist for the success of his experiment. All this in a painting of the year 1700 in the middle, around 1750. And then based on this is when I started painting. And with my paintings, what I'm trying to explain is the novel serials we create in the lab. But it was something else. And then I look at things from this moment on that they can inspire me. And I started making a collection of things that help me as well to explain science. Another thing we all do is administration. Every day we do more photocopies, sending here, looking for things in there. And when I moved back to Spain, I used to use this photocopy machine that had this poster in addition stuck in front of her. And every day I would go to make a photocopy and I'm thinking, God, this head is really nice. I mean, somebody painted a head with vegetables and cereals. But it's a nice head. And one day the head disappeared. Somebody threw this poster to the bin. And I thought, God, what is the poster? They said, oh, yeah, it's all you see. It's from 2001. Nobody looks at it. I said, what is the poster? I need the poster. I went to the bin. I got the poster. And I thought, no, I don't want to lose this knowledge anymore. I need to figure out what is this poster. He painted it because it's communicating something to me. What was communicating this poster to me was that this head was made in fruit and vegetables and flowers. But in addition, this head had a little ear in corn. I thought, God, it's a nice corn. It's a white corn. But it's small, it's really small. It's not like our hybrid corn that we are growing now. This is a misery. And I thought, why the painter painted such a small corn? One, if you realize it, the onion has a size like now, the pumpkin or whatever, it has a very big size as well. The apples, if you see in general, all the fruits and vegetables and cereals he painted are quite real to the size, except the corn, that is very small. Then, in addition, this painting was called Vertumnus, that is an Etruscan god that represents changing seasons. That means here we have what it would be summer, the fruits, the production. And then it was painted in 1590. Who painted it? The painter was Giuseppe Arcimboldo. I can tell you I knew nothing about this gentleman, but then I started investigating because he really impressed me. His painting impressed me. He was the son of the gentleman that made the big glass windows in the Milano Cathedral. That means his father was a painter and trained him as a painter, and he was very good. Then Rudolf II, that was the emperor, great-great-great-grandson of the Spanish Isabel and Fernando kings, hired him to paint for his court. And he told him, come and paint for me because it looks like you are very good. But what I would like that you paint, since you are so good at doing these things, this painting represents his head, I want that you paint everything I have in my gardens, everything I have in my rooms. I want that you paint all the special things that they are my properties. Because what I'm going to do with these paintings is I'm going to give them as a present to all the other kings and queens from Europe, and I'm going to show them that I'm the best. God, and I mean, it was a good idea, because what he did, this painter, Arcimboldo, he did an inventory of everything he had. For example, in this case, in his garden, because how Arcimboldo could paint corn unless that Rudolf had it in his garden. From where corn is coming from? Okay, I have to tell you that in Spain, corn is coming from a village 10 kilometers from ours, and that with the transgenics, where we are damaging all the biodiversity. Yeah, it's a stupidity. There is no origin of biodiversity of corn in Spain, not even in the village next to us. Not even in Galicia, where they are sending us to all the inbred lands to us to make the crosses. I mean, corn came here, came from America. Of course, the origin of biodiversity is in Mexico. But not only the white, I saw another painting, and it was dark corn. And I thought, he not only Rudolf had this in his garden, yellow corn, he also had dark corn. That means he was really interested in having new things in his garden. From where he got the corn, I don't know. But I do know, or is well known, that Colon, in his second trip to America, brought back the corn to Spain. Not only to Spain, it looks like in Spain, after it was somebody that was in the court of Isabella and Fernando had correspondence with Italy and sent some seeds to Italy. And some of the gentlemen that were in the boat with Colon also took directly the seeds to Portugal. That means this trip where they brought the seed bags, they were really distributed through Spain, Italy, and America, and Spain, Italy, and Portugal, and somehow they reached Germany. But now, let's focus in Colon. Okay, Colon takes the boat, and he discovers America. What he found in America? I guess, I'm not sure what he saw, but then I did a search in internet, and I found these kind of stones with corn caved it by scissors. Found this, and I found this. What we can find here? We can find this one, this here, is similar to this cob corn. That means that probably Colon took this size cobs and took them back to Spain, even though they had other sizes. They had probably bigger ones, the middle ones, or they had this. This is a Maya god of corn that has, this is not similar, it's completely different. But me, just looking at these images, what is telling me is Colon saw different kinds of corn when he went to the part of the Caribbean and Mexico. What is this is telling us? It's telling us that if this is corn as well, something happened between here, and here. And it's very clear, of course, that corn was domesticated in Mexico, and it's the human intervention that make that from this, that probably are the teosinte flowers, became corn through human selection. You are much better than me, probably, as breeders, but these images are telling me that here we had an evolution, but not a natural evolution, a completely artificial evolution. Corn is made completely by humans. If not, it wouldn't exist. And then it was taken to Europe. Then it's like 9,500 years of domestication, and this, now the corn we have is completely different from this one. In addition, for example, there is this book, the Codex Florentino, written by Bernardino de Sahagún, that he was a missionary. And he went there, and he wrote everything in this book that he saw. And he saw the original Indian people from there growing corn. And he did these drawings from real life. He really demonstrated that corn was grown there and was already a crop. This is teosinte, the origin of corn. And what is one of a special similitude between the teosinte flowers and corn? One of the things that they demonstrate that teosynthesis is the ancestor of corn. We can make popcorn from the two of them. We can make also popcorn from teosinte, what is good. Then what we did is we domesticated plants and animals. This is why I say it in a joke way. Of course, in Spain, we don't have the origin of the biodiversity of corn or anything that we brought from America, even though now we think we are the owners of everything. And now we even think we can forbid our farmers plant certain things when most of the things we are growing, we selected them and we producing them ourselves artificially. Yeah, this is just to exemplify that this could be teosinte, and of course this is corn. Okay, then Colon brings the corn to Spain, and then it's distributed. And rich people thought that this was something exotic, and then they wanted it painted at their houses. Then in the Vatican, there is already corn painted, like 30 years after Colon brought the corn. That means it was exotic. But if it was painted, it means it was already grown. It was grown, and they were able to find the right conditions to have it pollinated and producing cobs. That means they managed to adapt for growing in Europe very fast. And with my obsession of finding historical things and elements that they can help me to explain science, when I visit colleagues like Amit, in this case, we visited Ralph Bock in Germany. And I told Ralph, I'm looking for images and things that they can talk to me or they can explain me what happened about the cereals in Europe. And I say, I bought this new book. You say, it's not really a book, it's like 400 years old. I say, oh God, can we see it? I said, did you look at it if there is core? I said, no, when I open it, you see, I have to put the gloves on and say, okay, Ralph, we really need to look at it. And he bought this book because Ralph is called Ralph Bock. And it just happens that this book was written by Hieronymus Bock. And they have both the same surname. Then Ralph, he thinks perhaps he has the same genes than Hieronymus. And then he bought the book of what it could be his ancestor for 500 years before. Then I learned a lot with this Hieronymus. This Hieronymus was a botanist, but it looks like 500 years ago. You did not decide to become a botanist just like this. Normally, if you were a medical doctor, you were also a botanist. Because if you were a medical doctor 500 years ago, you need to treat the people. You can say, you need to take this, but where are you going to go to look for it 500 years ago? The only way to find the medicine is if I tell you, I have these bags I collected in my garden, and you take this. Then he was a medical doctor and in addition a botanist. But it looks like he had some free time, and in addition he was a Lutheran minister. I guess at the weekend he would take the opportunity and tell everybody, if you don't feel well, come on Monday at home, I'll sort you out. Because at that time diseases and hygiene was a problem. Then the ones that they had more knowledge and more vision, I guess they would take one step forward and do several things. Then Geronimo, what he did is, in his garden, he had lots of plants. And he changed the tradition so far during the last 1,500 years in Europe. Everybody that was writing a book about plants was just copying the Dioscorides. And they would just copy what they would see without knowing if this was the real plant or the real properties. What Hieronymus did is he hired a painter. And then he told the painter, you come with me and you paint the plants I indicate you because we are going to make a book together. And the only way that I can explain the properties of my plants as a doctor is if I can have a real draw of the plant. Remember, no mobiles, no cameras, only painters. Then he hires a painter called David Kander. And this is a closer picture of the book of Ralph. Look, it's very interesting because here somebody wrote Joseph, the surname, year 1621. And this is the book he has. I found it very interesting to be able to look at a book that is 400 years old. Then this book was printed in the year 1572, and it describes 700 plants. That means he looked around until he described these 700 plants with the painter. And surprise, he did have corn drawn and painted in it. That means he had this in his garden, or he went somewhere where he found this corn plant and had it drawn. But look, the interesting thing, only one stem and several cobs. And what Ralph explained to me that is even more interesting is here in German, is trying to describe all the properties that they thought that corn could have. Even though they didn't know even they could make flour out of the cob, they described all the medicinal properties they thought corn could have. It didn't have any of them, but they were described. But for me, the interesting thing is the year 1572, this corn plant was already grown in Germany, could flower and could produce seeds. Who painted this plant? I found it very interesting as well. David Candle was, I guess, a very good artist, and he painted the only rhinoceros that was known in Europe. The only one, but he even didn't see it. It looks like they brought the rhinoceros from Africa, and when they were carrying the animal from the boat to land, fell on the sea and drowned. That means they only saw some of them, the rhinoceros, and explained to David how they thought it would look like it. I'm just telling you that things, they never been easy. Even though science is not easy, but we can do things and move forward. He managed to draw it, and then he made a print, and everybody in Europe could see what it was looking like a rhinoceros. This way of printing, because the painter painted it, but after this had to be drawn in a wood piece, emptied and printed it. This printing system is already like the Minoans 3,000 years before Christ. They would already do this. Get a piece of stone or get a piece of ivory, empty it and print it. This was the fixed printing. We are not talking still about the mobile printing. And then I kept investigating. And I found another book, but this one, I didn't see it myself, fine? This book was printed in Basel in 1542, contains 497 plants, and was written by Leonard Fuchs, another father of botany. Leonard was also a medical doctor, also a priest, and he was also a botanist. But in this case, in the book of Leonard, the corn I saw was completely different. It had several branches, yeah? And it's called Triticum frumentium. Tirsicum frumentium, fine? It has a very strange name because he thought that this plant was brought from Turkey. Triticum frumentium. Here there is something, because I read it, leading that it was brought from Turkey. But imagine, it's completely different. You can see it's completely different from the other one. What is telling me is that Cologne also brought something similar to Teosinte, and it was also grown in the gardens. And in this case, Leonard, what we saw was this corn. And he painted it as he saw it, but he didn't paint it. I guess he was a little bit wealthier. And what he did is he hired a gentleman, Albert, to make the drawings, another to transfer them to the wood, to do the carvings, and another to, once the wood blocks were emptied, to print them into the book. And at that time was when the mobile printing from Gutenberg was invented. But imagine the complexity. They had to put the letters, and page by page, they had to print the image they wanted to show. And if they wanted color, after somebody by hand had to paint plant by plant. I mean, if things take time, in the past, they would even take more time. Then sometimes I think we should be patient. And this is what I like to see these things. Then after this, the other art I found that shows us corn is already the seed companies. When in Spain, they are telling us, oh, you force the farmers to buy the seeds because the plants are transgenic. I mean, seed companies existed since seeds or plants became business. And what seeds company did to show what they were able to sell, to paint them. You can see here a corn cob painted. Of course, they use illustrators. They would make nice drawing and show them to the farmers. If not the farmers, how the farmer would know what was going to come out of this seed? The only way that the farmer had to see it is if somebody would make a draw and show it to them. And these are paintings from Vilmorin, that is a French company. And now, how is the corn we are growing in Spain? In Spain now we are growing this corn. non-related to the core that could be brought by Cristobal Colon. Or you see, these are the Galician inbreds that we got, like 42 and 62. What we are growing now in Spain is a hybrid that in addition, one of the two parentals has the BT gene and it protects it against the worm, what is very good. But why we develop the hybrids? I mean, we developed hybrids because after in Europe, 2 world wars, people was hungry. I mean, when you have hungry people, you need to develop things to feed them. Then the scientists develop here in America, the same than Europe, the hybrids. And nowadays in Spain, no farmer would like to plant an open pollinated core because it doesn't produce anything. But we have all the criticisms from these ecologist groups telling us, but you are forcing the farmer to buy the seed. Nobody forced my father to buy a seed. My father wants to buy something that is going to produce. Then we are not plant any of these 2 inbreds or an open pollinated. We are going to plant the hybrid. What is the problem with the hybrid? That you need to buy the seeds, not because it's sterile. It's just because if you plant the hybrid, you will get all the parentals and there is no way to harvest this. Then it's just an economic decision that you make home. Then this is what I do. I try to paint the science with colors like this. When I give public seminars, I show them what is a hybrid. They say you have 1 red, 1 yellow, in between you have a hybrid. And then I make prints and I distribute them around. Did the companies that they are selling seeds stop using art? No. I was impressed when going through all this, I realized that Monsanto, it sells this hybrid seed corn. And it puts these wings here. It goes fast, yeah? It will go fast. You plant it, you have the seeds very fast. But why? What is in our brain that it gives us the idea that we will go fast? The idea is that the gods, what is the Hermes? He is Greek, he knows the gods better, right? Hermes is the one that goes and explains everybody the wishes of the gods. He's the messenger of the gods. Hermes has these boots that make him fly fast and distribute the news of the gods very fast. 2,000 years later of this legend, we use the same wings to say that this hybrid core will grow very fast. And the good news will be you will have a great production. That means that art has been all our life there to give us different information of the information we see. Then this is why, thanks to art, now I found another way to explain our science. And our science is this. This was the first grain we saw in the lab of provitamin A, beta-carotene. This core plant expresses the whole provitamin A pathway. That means the result is a orange-red grain, like a tomato, but it's not a tomato. And then I thought, how we are going to explain we did this? We are going to explain it because Supercorn was born. This is our comic. He's called Supercorn, and he explains to all the children that you can have provitamin A corn is orange and is going to give you vitamins and energy. And this is how in the lab we started developing comics, little individuals to explain what we do to the young ones. We wrote a book as well to try to explain science through our life, but you see in this book, Supercorn just jumps out of this painting with different colors. And this is one of the paintings I did to explain the different colors that corn, wheat, and rice could have embedded in our department, that is the biotechnology and crop physiology department. And this is the full cups of what I told you. These are full cups of provitamin A, lutein, astaxanthin, and different gene combinations, different colors. Then I did another painting, and I think like this, perhaps everybody can understand better the colors and the potential of this corn. Then I thought, okay, I could investigate a little bit more what is in these Archimboldo's paintings. And you see, he used a lot wheat. Then I looked for in internet which wheat images I could find that they could help me. Then I did a search. And of course, the origin of wheat domestication is in the Fertile Crescent, fine? Here in the Mediterranean area. We have Israel, Iran, Iraq, Egypt. And here we have a little island, Cyprus. You are going to tell me, why do you point out Cyprus? Because he's from Cyprus. And then I learned a lot from this island, because in this island, they have, they found, they have archaeological findings from 12,000 years ago, and they are giving us a lot of information as well. And this is one village, a reconstruction of a village of 10,000 years from Cyprus, where of course they had the stones to grind the wheat, not so different from now, or from 50 years ago. In Spain, we still grinded the wheat with a stone in the big mills. I mean, things have changed 50 years from now because we have electricity in the houses, but if not, things were not so different from 10,000 years ago. In addition, I found something very interesting as well. This is from a community that was found in a village in Israel. This is a human, but here it already has a little dog. That means 12,000 years ago, dogs were already with us as our companions. I mean, things have not changed so much. Technology has changed, but not the way we live. Then I like to look at all these things. Then barley and wheat was domesticated in the Fertile Crescent. And what did I found there? I found these things from internet, that these barca base from Urku. And you see here, there are already drawings from wheat and barley. And this is a seal, you see, a seal that is just a round stone. You do it like this, and then you see like this procession. They are holding wheat. And this is coming from this big base. I have not seen it personally. It's in the Baghdad Museum. And it's a procession. Here is a royal wedding. And these are all the visitors that they are taking different presents. And one of the presents are branches of wheat and barley. That means the importance that it already had at that time. It was drawn, it was carved on their jars, on the beautiful things they would have at home. Of course, the pharaohs would put in their art wheat, and this is one piece of a stone that this pharaoh Akhenaten, he was he changed lots of things, and he wanted that his plans were sculpted in the stones. And this I found it in internet, and then Akhenaten was the husband of Nefertiti. At least Nefertiti was well known. He was not, but he did lots of changes, and he wanted plants, images of plants. Then we can see lots of images of wheat. Also in this, the Minoan civilization used the wheat. I don't know if you can see it in here, as the shape of the wheat in their jewelry. And of course, coins. In the coins, we can see how important the cereals were, because coins before Christ, 500 years, there are already coins showing either the wheat, the whole wheat grain, or the spike, or the top. If we cut this and we see it from the bottom, from the top, is this. Then the importance of cereals is clearly reflected in coins. What I found most amazing from these coins is that they are all for sale. If somebody has money, you can just bid in an auction and get one of these coins. I didn't do it yet, but I thought it was really appealing, like to have a coin from Alexander, the time of Alexander the Great, where also he had these little grains of coin in here, the little grains of wheat, and in here there is also an image. It's just for you to see. Now I'm looking transversally, and I'm trying to see through generations where the importance of cereals were reflected. Of course, Van Gogh painted painted the wheat fields and a shepherdess in a wheat field. And then, of course, most closer to us, also a wheat field outside of, painted by Raoul Dufy, outside of Paris. This is Paris and the wheat fields. Not only was important for them to be painted, if not, wheat is still important for us. And for example, here a view of Israel, of Tel Aviv, and all around Tel Aviv is still, they are still growing wheat like 10,000 years ago. And because I was coming here to the horticultural seminars, I thought I should look for something special. Then what I found out, but this is not my area of expertise, that in the Jordan Valley, in a villa that they call it Jingal 1, they found figs that it looks like fig was domesticated 12,000 years ago, even earlier than wheat or grapes. And these are this in here, you can see this is a fossilized fig that it looks like they already did it something by parthenocarpic. I cannot tell you, but I put here the reference. This is a science from 2006, where they found these figs in this area. And it looks, this area, they did a model, 3D model of the houses, and they already had this sort of kind of houses. That means things have changed, but what has changed mostly is the technology, the way of living. It has not changed too much. It looks like 2,000 years ago, 12,000 years ago, they already had a house with an oven in the middle for cooking. We still had this 100 years ago in Spain, the same, a house with an oven for cooking inside. And this is my last slide. I want to show you here the different comics we did. You can see in there Supercon. This is Rice Lee, and this is Treatise. They explain to everybody how fantastic our transgenic cereals are. And finally, I would like to get one scientific conclusion from this talk. If we compare the evolution of corn and the evolution of wheat that would be similar to rice, what is the biggest difference? Just by looking at the images, wheat always kept more or less the same shape. Yeah, it could vary the domestication, while corn changed completely from a small little grain in teosinte to a big cob. What is the biggest difference? The pollination. Wheat and rice are self-pollinated, while corn is open-pollinated, and it allowed us to work with it much more, and we can see it through the images. And then now I'm really convinced that I have to do art to explain science. And what I would tell you to all of you, when you go to a museum, to an art gallery, don't look at the painting, look at the little things. If you are looking to a lettuce, look at the worm that the painter painted in this lettuce, and you are going to see that this disease or a pear that has a fungi was already there 300 or 400 years ago. And perhaps it's going to give you ideas. How can you explain the diseases or the different things you are working? It's just an idea for what I discover and how I focus the communication of our lab the last 10 years. And this is the last image. This is colorful. This is when we use the DS red to show, to distinguish rice and corn that we are using for molecular farming. When we produce a molecule to be used in medicine to distinguish it from the ones that they are edible, we put the DS red gene from the coral. And I didn't bring it because I couldn't, but I'm going to send some of the copies of the DS red painting I did with a big coral. Like this, I can correlate the coral with the gene expressing into our rice and our corn that we produce in the lab. This is my last slide. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you like the different dimensions of science. And now Now I can answer any question, but not very deep historically.